First at 5, snow is probably on your mind today. Maybe you're worried or excited about the forecast in the valley this week, or maybe you already have some snow where you are. Here's what it looked like this morning in the Coast Range. This is along Highway 26. Workers were out early with plows, and drivers told us they didn't really have much trouble maneuvering in the snow today. Up on Mount Hood, it is definitely looking like winter. In a little bit, we'll check in on how things are going up there after several feet of snow this weekend. But first, let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino with the latest on the S word in the Portland Metro. And I don't think we're talking about sun, Matt.
Well, we've got some of that in the forecast too. But of course, we've been talking about the potential for snow since last week, and we still have the potential for it too. Right now, we're at 39 degrees in town, and there actually is a chance for snow up in the hills tonight. For the valleys, not really a thing. And I think our snow chances for Wednesday, and it still looks like Wednesday night into Thursday morning is the most likely time we would see any significant snowfall. But I think the chances of having a prolonged snow event in Portland are diminishing. And here's the reason why. This is Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. This is an area of low pressure that's approaching the Oregon coast. Now, even at this point, it's pretty much at Portland's latitude. The east wind will begin during the day on Wednesday because pressure is blowing off the coast. But what we really need to happen if you want to get a lot of Portland snow, you want this to move into the central Oregon coast and stay south of Portland. That keeps the east wind blowing. It keeps Portland cold and insulated from getting any rain. But watch where this goes. It just spins right north. Even by Wednesday afternoon, it's north of the Portland area. That starts to give us a southerly component to the wind, and that diminishes our chances for getting a prolonged period of snowfall. That said, I think we'll get some snow in the Portland area. The rest of the valley, really not so much because you don't have the gorge wind. And then by really Thursday mid-morning or so, that storm has moved north and weakened, and we're just looking at some rain in the valley. So with all that said, yes, I think we will still see at least some snow in the valley, all the way down to the valley floor. A little bit tonight above 500 feet. But then Wednesday night and Thursday morning, that's still our best chance. It trays to possibly 2 inches if that storm moves really slowly and we can keep the east wind going. And this will be mainly north of Salem and in the Portland area. So again, it looks like we'll definitely see at least some snow, but I think the amounts are looking like less than they were, say, a few days ago. Guys?
Some people happy about that, some not so happy.
All depends on your perspective.
We'll check in with you later. Thank you, Matt. How about a flashback now? Let's take you back to 2017 and this traffic nightmare almost exactly 3 years ago. And the threat of snow this week does have some people asking if Portland plans to use salt on the roads. PBOT says yes, salt will be a part of this year's plan. Our Kristen Severance verifies when and where crews plan to use it.
If you're new to Portland, you may be surprised to learn that crews just started using salt on the roads in 2017. It's back this year, so let's verify some common questions and answers about when and where they use salt on the road. So number one, where does PBOT use road salt? The answer here, roads most prone to closure during winter storms, including steep hills, hospital routes, and downtown. So there's this great map on the Portland Bureau of Transportation site, and it shows you in real time where they use plows and de-icer and salt when it snows. So you can see the purple area, that is where they plan to use salt. So here is the West Hills. Here's a really steep hill at Fremont and 33rd, and then they'll also plan to salt in the Mount Tabor area. I definitely bookmark this map or check kgw.com. I'll make sure it's on there. Our next question, when will salt be used on the road? It really depends on temperature. So according to PBOT, salt works great at 30 degrees Fahrenheit, but it can lose some of its effectiveness below 20 degrees. Our next question, what else does PBOT use to treat roads? Sand, de-icer, and plows. Plenty of that all on standby. And our last question, I threw this in there because we got this a lot last year. Who was responsible for clearing and salting the sidewalks? Very simple answer here. You are. Property owners are responsible for clearing their sidewalks, and if someone does fall and get hurt on your sidewalk, you could be held liable. Do you have something you want us to verify? Let us know. Email us at verify@kgw.com.
Multnomah County is opening up severe weather shelters tonight. It's adding 350 more beds. There are 2,000 beds total at 3 shelters around the county. You can help by donating any extra winter gear you might have around the house. They say items like hats, blankets, coats, and sleeping bags are really helpful on nights like tonight. You can find more information at 211info.org. We do it all the time, procrastinate, wait until the last minute to winterize our homes. Well, those freezing temperatures Matt's been talking about cause problems in your home too. So here are 3 things you can do right away that won't cost you much. First, cover your outside faucets. These covers should only cost you about $2 each, and they take less than a minute to install. Secondly, protect your pipes. If they're exposed, insulate them. A 6-foot section will run you about $5 to $6. And lastly, clean out your gutters. Leaves can block your downspouts, and that can cause ice dams for the melting snow. This weekend, storms mark the first big snow event of the season up on Mount Hood. Because of strong winds and heavy snow, ODOT asked drivers to avoid the passes. Today, conditions are much improved. This is video of the drive up to Government Camp. Visibility, okay, you see there, although the highway is still snow-packed. And from what we're hearing, slick in some spots. Keely Chalmers made that trip for us today. She's in Government Camp this evening. Keely, highway crews up there are ready for a busy week.
Yeah, I tell you what, Laurel, they have been working 24/7 since Friday, trying to make sure Highway 26 up here is safe for drivers. And you can bet they will be back out overnight tonight doing the same thing. Now, it's important to point out, it's not just the snow that's causing some issues up here and has been causing issues over the weekend. It's also the wind. On Highway 26 heading up Mount Hood this morning, the ODOT plows were out, keeping the constant falling snow from piling up. The good news, visibility was much better and the winds much calmer than this weekend.
It was pretty hectic. We had a lot of trees come down. We had probably about 50 trees come down because of the heavy snow.
Trees that narrowly missed cars and knocked out power for hours at a time in Government Camp.
Basically, we've just been dealing with a lot of snow and power outage every day.
The heavy snow and strong winds created deep drifts, burying cars under feet of snow. When we caught up with Jack Betterina, he'd been trying to dig out his Honda Civic for more than 3 hours.
So if you just leave your car out here on Mount Hood for 3 days, this is what happens.
Not an easy task with the snow continuing to fall. Snow that for many means fun, but for drivers means putting on the chains if they don't already have traction tires. Because without them, this big snow event can quickly turn dangerous.
I mean, we've seen several people that were just sliding around the road. So either the traction tires weren't working or they just didn't bother to stop and put chains on.
Now, a little bit of good news. ODOT is expecting the snow to lighten up a little bit tomorrow, so some of the crews will be getting a small, minute break from all the plowing and digging out. But still, ODOT is advising drivers to pay attention to those signs. If those signs say, use traction tires or chains, drivers, they're asking, follow that advice. Back to you.
Important to do. It looks beautiful up there. Thank you, Keely. Now to a tragedy on the Oregon coast that is so sad it's almost too much to bear. We're hearing from loved ones of a Portland family swept into the ocean this weekend. Saturday afternoon, a father was holding his 2 children when they were swept into the water by a sneaker wave. Family have identified them as 47-year-old Jeremy Stiles, his 7-year-old daughter Lola, and 4-year-old son William. Family says they were walking on an off-beach trail near Cannon Beach at the time. Lola was pronounced dead at the hospital. William has not been found. Jeremy is in the hospital recovering from hypothermia. Neighbors tell us the Coast Guard was searching this area for hours on Saturday. They told us the beach here is dangerous year-round, especially in the winter. When high tides roll in, there's little room to escape the waves.
When you don't see any beach there, it's just not a safe place to be. And when you don't see enough beach or enough area to get away from it, it's a super dangerous place to be. And that's the conditions that we're dealing with right now.
In a statement, the family thanked first responders and the Coast Guard and everyone who's offered their thoughts and prayers. They're raising money to help with expenses. We've posted a link to that fundraiser on KGW.com if you'd like to help. And we've just learned they've already reached their original $20,000 goal. And we just love to see the generosity of the community. The threat of the king tide is down today, but even so, officials say they remind us never turn your back on the water.
I was very innocent and very vulnerable.
A former student is suing Catlin Gable for sex abuse. The Portland woman claims her 6th grade math teacher molested her 80 times. This is the first of what's expected to be many lawsuits against the elite private school. KGW's Kylie Boshi has been following the sex abuse scandal and now the fallout. Kyle.
Laurel, you'll remember this all became public after the school released an explosive report in December outlining decades of sexual misconduct by at least 21 teachers and staff. Now come the lawsuits. The first was filed today on behalf of a former Catlin Gable student, Kim Wilson. She's seeking $4.5 million in damages. Wilson claims she was molested 80 times by her 6th grade math teacher, Richardson Shoemaker. He died in 2018. Shoemaker was one of 6 men identified by name who were accused of unwanted sexual contact with students at Catlin Gable. Wilson claims school administrators did little, if anything, to help her despite complaints. She hopes other victims will have the strength to come forward.
And I think that it's helped a lot of people recognize issues that they've dealt with their whole life because it stemmed from this issue happening when they were children and not feeling that they had the strength to come forward.
A spokesperson said the school wouldn't comment on the lawsuit, but in a statement, Catlin Gable said in part, "We apologize to any students who were subjected to sexual misconduct and abuse when they attended Catlin Gable and deeply regret their suffering." The Washington County Sheriff's Office said additional victims have come forward and detectives are following up on those new leads.
Thank you, Kyle.